You're listening to downloaded content, the memory palace of author, narrator, and fictional character Daniel Louis Crumpton. Make sure to hit subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And sign up for the Downloaded Content newsletter at downloadedcontent.com to be first in line for exclusive content.
All right, guys, welcome back. Thanks for bearing with me. As I said, and you guys know it, I demand long attention spans. So there's just a couple more stories that I want to go over on this Wartown is Flocked extravaganza episode. And then we'll wrap it up for this one. Like I said, you see how in the beginning, it's just something we turn on and off, and then it has facial recognition. And then it just keeps getting more and more amped up. And as I said in my email to City Council, which none of them responded to, like if you don't have the authority to stop the stormtrooper type behavior that happened with Rolling Thunder, in the event that your hierarchy of bosses wants to utilize the flock system for nefarious purposes or just, whatever, Donald Trump wants them to, then, you guys aren't going to be able to stop it. Okay. You have an opportunity to stop it by, cutting the contract with Flock, but in the event that ICE or the Department of Homeland Security wants to utilize this ungodly system, you're not going to do anything. Trust me. But what I wanted to point out in this last stretch is how you see they acclimate you to it over time. Okay. Before it completely envelops you in all of its features. And so let me share my screen, and I'm going to go to an article that came out with the House and Home Journal not too long ago. So September 29th, at the House and Home Journal, there was an article, City approves contract with Flock camera systems benefiting police department. Now, I'm going to read you this article, and I want you to keep in mind, like, how local news outlets will report an issue like this versus how I'm communicating it to you. As you could tell, there is a sense of urgency in my voice. There is clearly an intent on my part to sound some alarms that should be going off. Okay. And again, I don't give a shit what these people think about me. I've always been an outlier anyway and thought of as kooky, but you guys know the saying, right? Smart motherfuckers look like crazy motherfuckers to dumb motherfuckers. But let me read you how local news reports on issues like this. So it's city approves contract with Flock camera systems benefiting police department. And so here's a nice image of, Chief Fisher in their crime lab minority report center from George Orwell's 1984. Okay. And let's see how they present this. Warner Robins, the city of Warner Robins recently approved a new software provider that will enhance investigative capabilities at the police department. At the September 15th meeting, City Council approved a partnership between the Warner Robins Police Department and Flock Safety. So this is well after February, okay? Department leadership said the current system will be gradually phased out with a complete transition by the end of the year, okay? So keep in mind, this is after that city council meeting we visited in the beginning, after my email to council, no responses from any of the spineless councilmen who were probably, let's face it, told not to respond to me, because there's some stuff in there about lawsuits and they might be breaking the law. So this is September 15th, not too long ago, okay? That the Flock system that they were talking about has been phased out. And now we got a new phase of Flock. At the September 15th meeting, City Council approved a partnership between the Warner Robins Police Department and Flock Safety. Department leadership said the current system will be gradually phased out with a complete transition by the end of the year. Quote, we want to have an overlap so we don't have a gap in our capabilities. Best case scenario, we will be totally switched over from Fusus to Flock by the beginning of December, Captain Eric Gossman said. The department currently works with Fusus for digital video data in their real-time crime center, but the current system cannot fully integrate with the police's Flock camera system. This is due to Fusus's recent buyout from Axon, according to Gossman, who oversees the real-time crime center. So these are third-party corporations, for-profit corporations who are gathering this data and giving your cities subscriptions to their services, just so you know. Quote, the customer service and the research and development and improvements ceased over the last couple years, and Flock has done things to make that platform a lot more robust, Gossman said. Initially, Gossman explained the city's Flock camera system was composed of automatic license plate readers that could identify a vehicle. This information is fed into the center, providing alerts for stolen cars and expired registrations, and linking vehicles to open warrants, emergency missing alerts, gang activity, or terrorism. With the new Flock software, the department can set up portable community partnership video cameras. The software can also search for vehicles without tags based on their descriptions. Quote, if you've got areas that you need covered or looking for coverage, but you can't get the partners, you can put up a solar powered CCTV type camera, but it doesn't act as an automatic license plate recognition, he explained. The system also features a feature called, it also features a feature, all right. It also features a feature called Flock 911, which enables the real-time crime center and responding officers to listen to calls en route, reducing distractions while driving. Quote, the switch from Fusus to the Flock operating system will give us those 3 different additional tools to use and make a little more robust and functional. Hopefully, it will help us do things that we aren't currently doing, Gossman said. The system, Gossman said, is designed to have constant surveillance in fixed public locations, helping the department generate leads that can lead to solving more cases. Leads are also something that's in sales, right? The system is also valuable in verifying details from witness testimonies. Quote, there was a shooting where we had nothing to go on because the victims were a little less than forthcoming, Gossman said. Quote, when the victim and the suspect passed one of our donor locations, we were able to identify the car. As the department makes the switch, measuring the new system's success will rely on current metrics and the ability to solve cases, Gossman said. Quote, where we put cameras at, are they working the way they're supposed to? Are they adding to case resolutions or leads generated? Leads generated means basically, like I said, with the Houston County court system, it's monitoring for minor infractions so they can fine you. That's lead generation, okay? If I had to guess, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. We can move them if we don't find any value in their placement, he explained. Gossman explained that the camera system is only in use in public places and video footage is only retained for 30 days. The department has a series of checks and balances in place to ensure the camera system is used legally and ethically. Okay, let me stop right there. Okay, we're only going to violate your Fourth Amendment for 30 days, and we're only going to violate your Fourth Amendment legally and ethically. Okay, that's what that says. Nothing on Gossman, because I know that he was given the script, probably by a CEO at Flock and Fusus or whoever. But if you really cut through all the word salad, it's like, even if they only retain it for 30 days, which we know that the system retains it for as long as they want it to, all right, they might not only have access to it for 30 days, but again, the AI God never sleeps and it never blinks, all right? So we're only going to violate your Fourth Amendment for 30 days, and we're going to make sure that we violate your Fourth Amendment ethically and legally. Quark. Anyway, in turn, the system is another way the department can proactively serve its community, Gossman mentioned. Quote, when we're investigating it, we get a clearer picture, so we're able to take action faster. Taking action faster and more accurately, we can hopefully prevent future victims of crime. So now we have pre-crime. So let's call in Tom Cruise and do a live action recording of Minority Report for pre-crime. God. According to council documents, the first year of software through Flock Safety would cost the department $53,500. Over the course of 5 years, the department would save $126,000 under the new agreement. Okay. So, do you see how this was reported by your local news? Okay. It's, and listen to me, guys. You guys know that I'm not anti-police, okay? Now I have my thoughts on the police, uh, but I know that the police forces are made up of individuals who have families and they're doing their jobs and all of that. And I am in no way like not trying to make police officers unsafe on the job or whatever. Okay, look, we could have those discussions, over coffee after you retire, clearly, because that's what every police officer who ever meets me says. I'd love to have coffee with you after I retire. And I'm like, well, why don't you have coffee now? Well, it's the job. But anyway, so you see what I'm talking about? How over time they've acclimated you to where now this AI system, it doesn't need to read your license plate. They can literally go to the computer and they can type in, whatever make and model with a dent. Okay. And that sounds great, right? And it all sounds great. And the public, like I'm not slighting the police department. Their job is to sell you guys on this because it's one of their toys that they really want. So we have to keep in mind as responsible Americans that we actually have to take what police force or people with weapons and a monopoly on state violence say with a grain of salt. Not slighting the individual men and women who wear a badge, but as Americans, we have to take what they're saying with a grain of salt here, okay? Because history has shown that these devices and this type of surveillance is always misused, okay? Even though you could have the most well-intentioned people throughout the force, there's always one bad apple, and that's all it really, really takes. But I want you to see how it escalated. And last time I actually read this article, I thought there was something in here that said it connected to your social media. But anyway, it can do that, just so you guys know. But a lot of these phrases, I want you to kind of let it sink in your head. Lead generation, value. There's checks and balances to ensure the camera system is used legally and ethically. But it's like I said, you're okay. We're going to violate your Fourth Amendment legally and ethically. Trust us. All right. Anyway, now, where did it say that? I know that it said that about the social media. Anyway, I digress. So you see how quickly it escalated. Now there is another story that I want to talk about in regard to this flock system, and maybe give you a perspective that you haven't thought of, especially if you're in the fictional city of Wartown's vicinity. Not too long ago, there was an incident that happened that I call the Centerville Swastika-Mobile Ordeal. And I've been wanting to talk about it on a podcast because I haven't heard anybody kind of give it the angle that I have. But for those of you who aren't in this area, and for those of you who are, here's a refresher. It was a few months ago. Let's see, July. It was in July where there was a car, okay, that was spotted at the local mall that had racist slurs and a swastika on it. Okay. I want to emphasize here, for those of you who don't know what the Hegelian dialectic is, the Hegelian dialectic is problem, reaction, solution. And the way that works is, let's say that there are the powers that be, they want to implement something, but they know it's not going to go well with the public because it's messed up stuff. So what typically will happen is they will create a problem, or a problem will be created. The people will react. Okay. And typically when people react, it's emotionally, not intellectually, because if you take the time to process something, you respond, you don't react. So it's a problem is created or presents itself. The people react, and then they present the solution that they wanted to implement to begin with. It's called the Hegelian dialectic. Look it up. So back in July, there was a car that had a swastika and racist slurs spray painted on it at a mall. Okay. And the people reacted emotionally. It was all over their social media, their Facebooking, with a lot of emotion about this. Okay. And so we're going to read this article from 13WMAZ, and I'm going to give you a little bit of commentary. Okay, so car with offensive language symbols sparked outrage in Houston County. Here's what locals had to say. A vehicle covered in spray painted swastikas and racial slur appeared across Houston County, leaving many residents shocked. Sheriff Matt Moulton says hatred does not have a home in Houston County, and be assured that we are actively investigating this at this time. Okay, Centerville, Georgia. Centerville police are investigating after a car covered in Nazi symbols and a racial slur was spotted in locations across Houston County on Saturday. The graffiti, which included swastikas and the N-word, was spray painted. Oh, God. 13WMAZ's site is the worst. Was spray painted on and covered much of the vehicle. For many in the community, the sight was both shocking and upsetting. I'm like, wow, how bold, said local resident Rutha Jackson, who first learned about the incident from a post on social media. Quote, I really was appalled at the fact that you could have enough courage to do this. What more would you have enough courage to do? End quote. Alonzo Sermons was at the Houston Galleria's Crunch Fitness when he saw the car parked outside. He described the atmosphere among witnesses as fearful and tense. Quote, it was very disappointing to me, Sermon said. Quote, it was more of a fear and a concern, being that the society that we live in have a totally, of all kinds of different challenges with shooters and things of that nature. They just don't know what to expect, end quote. Sermon said that the police did what they could under the circumstances. Quote, understanding the First Amendment and understanding people's unfortunate opinions from my perspective, it is what it is, end quote, said Sermons. Jonathan Johnson, president of the Houston County NAACP, responded by stressing the ongoing need for community vigilance. Quote, we've been fighting these issues ever since 1909, so you can only cause harm to yourself, but we, the community, are going to still stick together and we're going to still move forward together, Johnson said. Centerville police had the car towed because it had expired tags and a suspended registration. Police Chief Diedrich Duncan stated this appears to be an isolated incident, but said the Houston County District Attorney is still reviewing the case. As of now, no charges have been filed in connection with the racial slur on the swastika. Houston County Sheriff Matt Moulton urged the community to report any information stating hatred does not have a home in Houston County and be assured that we are actively investigating this at this time. Police are asked to call yada, yada, yada for more information. So before I continue, and then we're going to wrap it up here, let me go ahead and say the obvious. Obviously, spray painting swastikas and racial slurs on a car is a very asshole thing to do. Okay. I am not condoning hatred or, bigotry or anything like that. Okay. However, what I am saying is that we may not like it, but someone utilizing their First Amendment, even in disgusting ways, doesn't make them a criminal. It makes them an asshole, but it doesn't make them a criminal. As a matter of fact, the First Amendment is there to protect unpopular speech. Okay. It's there because sometimes what needs to be expressed will hurt people's feelings or whatever. And I'm not saying that the swastika and the racial slurs are what people need to hear. What I'm saying is that we have a First Amendment right to express ourselves. And in my opinion, I want ignorant people to be loud so I know where they're at. Okay? Now, so I'm not condoning racial slurs and I'm not condoning, people being that way. I think it's an asshole thing. I think it's very unevolved and just like petty. However, you have an incident at this point in time, so far as you know, someone's property was spray painted with a bunch of horseshit. Okay. And of course, the people emotionally reacted. I totally get it. Now, how that story ended and, I don't think I saw in any story where flock was outright used, but I'm pretty sure when there was this joint operation, there's no way that they didn't use the flock system to go ahead and wrap this story up. And this is how the story wrapped up. With their combined efforts, the sheriff's department, Warner Robins, Centerville, they found the suspect. They found the perpetrator. And it was a 17-year-old kid. Okay. And again, pretty sure that Flock was involved. And this kid was charged with other things, like removing a tag illegally or an expired tag or whatever. All right. Now, there's a few things I want to say about this. For one, this kid is 17. You've been 17? You do some stupid shit when you were 17? I know I did. Okay. I think it's very evident that every adult in this 17-year-old kid's life utterly failed him. This is abundantly clear. But he's 17, right? And where I have an issue with this is utilizing all of their equipment because of markings on a car. They tracked the kid down, charged him with other stuff. Okay? And then plastered his picture all over social media before he'd ever had a fair day in court. Okay? He's a minor. He's 17 years old. And what I want to emphasize is that most of the people who I saw reacting on their social media were like, they got him. Great. This is a great day for freedom. And I'm like, no, this is acclamation. Because if you advocated for law enforcement to track down this 17-year-old kid, probably using Flock, and charging him with other stuff because of this extreme ignorant stuff that was on his car, well, that sets precedent. What is going to happen when, let's say, your fuck Trump bumper sticker becomes offensive to the people who have control of Flock? Or, any expression that you have on your vehicle or your person that can get sucked up into the Flock system. Do you follow what I'm saying? Like, yeah, this was a dumb thing for, and I don't know, the kid probably hadn't gone to court yet, so I don't know if he's been convicted, but it's an asshole thing to have on your car. But this was a perfect acclamation topic to get people to put a rubber stamp on using mass surveillance and these kind of tactics to track people down by markings on a car. And I'm pretty sure that they had to use the Flock system in this incident. But that's how they get the people to accept, these types of things: problem, reaction, solution. And a lot of people thought it was a great win. I think that it's actually despicable that in the modern era, we do plaster people's pictures all over social media before they've had a fair day in court. I think that's disgusting. I think that, people should be innocent until proven guilty. And the other thing is you put this 17-year-old kid's face out there. You literally put this kid's life in danger, by plastering his face everywhere. And again, he's 17, every adult around him failed him. And again, what instigated this? Expression, First Amendment stuff. Yeah. Really screwed up expression. Yeah. Really, really despicable expression. And tomorrow it might be yours. And so, if you cheer for it here in this instance, then don't complain whenever, you know, this goes full totalitarian in our country, which it already is, but it's getting worse. Whenever any expression of dissent that you have towards those who have the keys to technologies like this, don't complain whenever they come beating your door down because you're a domestic terrorist or whatever label they want to put on you. You know, and I'm sorry. Yeah, like I said, I don't condone it. Like, I'm not putting a stamp on it, but it's like the guy's got a right to spray paint stupid shit on his car if he wants to and make sure that we all know who he is. You know what I'm saying? But the point I'm trying to accentuate is that he wasn't charged with spray painting a swastika and racial slurs. He was charged with other things. But they found him because of that, more likely than not using their wonderful tools of Flock, because why wouldn't they pass up a chance to utilize Flock in this way? And that's the Hegelian dialectic. And like I said, I don't think I've seen too many people with that particular take, but if you want my honest opinion, it looked like a test run to see how people would respond when they utilized it in such a way. But that's just me and my conspiratorial minded self. So I think we've been going, how long? 3 hours here. So this is going to be broken up into two parts for sure. But it's something to think about, guys. It's really something that you need to educate yourself on. And I mean quick. And I thought that it was my civic duty to tell you my personal story on the Flock saga here in the fictional city of Wartown, so that you guys can pick it up and do whatever you want to with it. Because as my newsletter subscribers are aware, I have retired from activism. I don't care. To me, this is just commentary. This isn't activism. I've done my bit for, Constitution and country, and the rest is completely up to you guys. But ask yourself some questions. Ask yourself if city council or local government bothered to ask you if you wanted them to institute this mass surveillance system. Ask yourself if you honestly think that they can keep it in-house, and, if Papa Trump wants to come and snatch it from them, if they are in any position to stop him from doing so. Ask yourself if this Flock system is going to be connected to Peter Thiel's Palantir. And if you don't know what Peter Thiel's Palantir thing is, you didn't make it this far in the fucking podcast anyway. Let's be real. But ask yourself those questions. And ask yourself why the very people who are purporting this thing to be the greatest thing ever couldn't even bother to respond to little old kooky me with a very professional email with legitimate concerns. And if you were to email them, do you think that they would respond to you? And if they don't, then are they actually representing us anyway? So these are some things to think about. I wanted to let you guys be privy to all of that information because, like I said, if you saw Bonhoeffer, a mayoral race on the Jones Plantation, you know my thoughts on elections. However, it is your future, and you do have an election that's right around the corner, a deadline for it, where you have a choice when it comes to the mayor. Okay, you got LaRonda running for a second term. Okay, and then we know that she's not going to change her mind on this about Flock. And her team are all of one mind and one accord with her on this because they all voted for it. So they're all in this. They have burnt their boats when it comes to Flock. So you can, you can vote for LaRonda, and that's your prerogative. I don't vote for incumbents ever. But you do have another choice, and that's Fabian Velasquez, who, from what I've heard and what I've seen in the interviews where the media has given him a minute to talk, is he's along the same lines as me when it comes to Flock. Is he doesn't think it's a very American thing to be surveilling people 24 hours a day with an AI system. Okay. And he's already shown that he is not going to get in there and be, just another placeholder for an agenda that's pre-written by city council, that he's willing to buck the system. Okay. And again, as I've said in the last episode, I would love to believe that if he gets in there, he'd fight the system and do the thing. That'd be great. But I also know how the system is. However, I do know that if you get him in there, he's at least gonna put some sabots in the gears of the machinery and make it go clunk, 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 which could give you guys time enough to do something about this. But it's completely up to you. It's like a choose your own adventure, right? Because I have reached a level of consciousness where I'm aware that it's all theater and it's all a show, and not to really get too invested that you can actually change government if you don't have a shitload of money to influence these people, because it's a theater, it's a production. But you could slow it down by putting Fabian Velasquez in there, or you could just go along to get along and put nothing but incumbents back in, which is, you only have one choice really, because and this is another thing too, is the 3 city council people who are running unopposed here. I know they think that it's because they're doing a wonderful job, that nobody ran against them. And again, I hate to burst your imaginary social media bubble on that one. The reason you're running unopposed is because nobody gives a fuck anymore, because that's what they've been taught. What's the point? Fabian Velasquez has said it. It's not that people approve of you guys who are up for re-election, is that the people have given up. So, don't pat yourselves on the back too much. Look at how many people actually go vote. All right. And you got less than half of the support of those people. So be humble, be real with yourself. And again, you guys have a decision to make. It's your fictional corporation. You do whatever you want to with it. I think Flock is probably the worst thing that you guys can let continue. And if you do, may God have mercy on your soul, and may your shackles rest upon you lightly. But for those of you who want to get in the mix and try to do something for your progeny, again, in the description box below, there is a link to a group that's forming called Stop Flock Surveillance in Georgia. Why don't you go ahead and click that, join the group, get into the conversation, and see what they got shaking. So this has been a pretty meaty one, but a pretty necessary one. And again, you guys didn't come here to feel good. You came here to either get offended or, something else. I don't know. But that's, I think I have beaten the Flock camera system horse to glue. And, but I felt that I needed to, because I think you guys really need to know about it, and you really need to do something about it. And I'll tell you another thing too. You could be friends with every person who is in city council. You could be friends with LaRonda, and, that's wonderful. But this is a fundamental issue that you can't agreeably disagree on. This is our country is hanging on by the thinnest of threads. All right. The Fourth Amendment's really, really simple read. Okay. Don't subcontract your duty and obligation to understand your rights and what it says to lawyers. Okay. You may tell you how you know if a lawyer is lying. If they have a pulse. All right. Their job is to get you lost in the sauce of codification. That's what they make the big bucks to do. So don't offset your responsibility to protect that Fourth Amendment to the bar. All right. Anyway, guys, you guys are champions if you made it this far. You really, really are. And I thank you for it. So I leave it to you guys. You do what you can, where you can, and what your conscience leads you to. But I will tell you this, and I said it earlier, and I'm going to reemphasize it. The reason that none of those city council guys responded to me is because I'm correct. The moral argument cannot be won on this. It is immoral to be surveilling people, whether through AI or whatever. It's immoral. It's also antithetical to the message of Christ and the message of the Bible. So you guys have a lot of cognitive dissonance to clear up before you go to your altar and you get on your knees and you pray to the big man. And you still have this cognitive dissonance that the flock system is just not another implementation of what we all have been warned about from the scriptures. Okay? Take that safety and security hogwash and take it to the clothesline. It's not applicable here. It's immoral and unethical for government or corporations to be monitoring everybody all the time. That is nothing more than a digital prison. So, you know, I'm going to tell you, you know, LaRonda has her back against the wall on this issue because for a lot of reasons. I mean, it's one of the big things that she's hailing as a great achievement. So to back away from that is kind of detrimental, especially right now. I get it. However, it's like the book says, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? So at the end of the day, LaRonda and every city council person, as well as officers of the Warner Robins Police Department, you're going to have to actually break away from the narrative, break away from the script, break away from the sales pitches that are coming from on high, and you got to look in the mirror and you got to honestly ask yourself, if one day you want to be judged by something you can't word salad away from on implementing this ungodly system, that's between you and it. And he ain't going to hear political stump speeches. Okay? He's going to look right into your heart and call bullshit. And it's a fearful thing to fall into its hands, buddy. Let me tell you something. So I've done my part. I've done my John the Baptist thing and said what I had to say about it. And now I leave it to you guys. So look forward to meeting you guys on the Wellston Trail. Me and Arthur the Space Schnoodle love handing out pocket constitutions on that trail. Meet some wonderful people. And another thing, every person that we do meet on the Wellston Trail, when we tell them about flock, first they're like, what? And we explain it and they go, no. So you guys in City Hall, I don't know who you're talking to, but no, people are not behind this. Okay. They're not. So you have to deal with that. Anyway, guys, until next time, make sure you subscribe to the Downloaded Content newsletter. You'll get all this goodness first and foremost right to your box. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel. Again, the Orwell Was Right playlist is there for you, where there's a lot more information on flock and some other perspectives from other people in the community. The Bonhoeffer and the mayoral race on the Jones Plantation playlist is finally up. It's on the YouTube channel also. Please give us a like, a share, a comment, and all that good stuff. Let's see. Anything else? No, that's it. Anyway, love you guys. Talk to you next time. Stay well.
You've been listening to Downloaded Content with your humble author, narrator, and fictional character, Daniel Louis Crumpton. If what you've heard tonight stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Subscribe to the Downloaded Content newsletter at downloadedcontent.com, where stories and realities collide, and the narrative continues long after the episode ends. Subscribe on YouTube and Spotify, and join the Facebook community for weekly live streams, unfiltered discussions, and the kind of truths algorithms try to bury. And if you haven't already, pick up Then Came the Flood, a novel by Daniel Louis Crumpton. Because sometimes, fiction tells the truth louder than the news ever could. Georgia listeners, if you're concerned about flock surveillance in your neighborhood, check the description box below and join the new group, Stop Flock Surveillance in Georgia. Remember, government overreach spreads through silence, and only you, the listener, can stop mass surveillance in your area. Awareness is rebellion. Until next time, this has been Downloaded Content. Stay awake, stay aware, and as always, stay downloaded.